What if everything you've been told about creating wealth has been keeping you broke? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Here's something that might shock you. The difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who struggle financially isn't intelligence, education, or even luck. It's not about having the right connections or being born into the right family. The harsh reality is that most people remain financially stuck because they've been programmed with the wrong mental blueprint about money, and they don't even realize it. Has this ever happened to you? You work harder than ever. You follow all the traditional advice about saving and investing. Maybe you even read books about wealth creation, but somehow the financial breakthrough never comes. You watch others seemingly effortlessly attract opportunities and abundance, while you feel like you're running on a hamster wheel, putting in maximum effort for minimum results. The truth is, you've been operating under a massive misconception. Society has conditioned us to believe that wealth is reserved for a lucky few, that it requires special circumstances, expensive education, or being in the right place at the right time. But what if I told you that this belief system is exactly what's keeping you trapped in financial mediocrity? What you're about to discover might surprise you, but there's actually only one fundamental rule that separates those who live in abundance from those who merely dream about it. It's not what most financial gurus teach you, and it's certainly not what the traditional education system prepares you for. This rule operates on a completely different level. It's about rewiring your mental programming and transforming your relationship with wealth from the inside out. The fascinating part is that this transformation doesn't require years of study or massive initial capital. It doesn't demand that you quit your job or take enormous risks. What it does require is something far more challenging, yet infinitely more powerful. A complete mental revolution that takes exactly 30 days to install. Now, I need to be completely honest with you from the start. This isn't going to be one of those feel-good motivation videos that leaves you temporarily inspired, but ultimately unchanged. What we're diving into today is a reality shock, a systematic dismantling of the poverty mindset that's been unconsciously sabotaging your financial potential. It's about performing a complete mental code rewrite that will fundamentally alter how you think, feel, and act around money. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to completely transform your financial reality, but only if you're willing to commit to following it exactly as I lay it out. There's one non-negotiable condition that will determine whether this works for you or becomes just another piece of information you consume and forget. The question isn't whether you want more money. Of course you do. The real question is whether you're ready to become the type of person who naturally attracts wealth, who lives and breathes abundance as their default state of being. Because that transformation begins with understanding why your current approach isn't working and what you need to do differently, starting right now. If these insights have shifted something in how you see wealth and possibility, I'd love to have you subscribe to this channel. The content here is specifically created for people who are ready to go beyond surface-level advice and dive into the real principles that create lasting transformation. Having you as part of this community would genuinely mean everything to me. That condition is this: for the next 30 days, you must live as if wealth is already your natural state, not hoping for it, not working toward it, but embodying it completely. No doubting, no questioning, no sabotaging yourself with old patterns. This is where most people fail before they even begin, because they're still operating under the assumption that wealth comes from doing more things, when the real secret lies in doing certain things in a completely different way. Here's where it gets interesting. There's a principle that most success teachers completely miss, and it's the difference between spinning your wheels and actually creating lasting transformation. You see, becoming wealthy isn't about learning new strategies or finding the perfect opportunity. It's about developing what I call mental discipline, a way of training your mind to operate from abundance rather than scarcity, even when your bank account doesn't reflect it yet. This mental discipline involves something most people have never heard of: vibrational training. Before you think this sounds too mystical, let me explain what's really happening. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every decision you make is broadcasting a frequency. Right now, your current financial situation is a perfect reflection of the frequency you've been unconsciously broadcasting for years. The wealthy understand this hidden truth, while everyone else remains completely unaware of the signals they're sending out. The fascinating part is that you're already a master at this process. You've just been using it in reverse. Think about it. If you worry about money, you seem to find more things to worry about financially. If you expect problems, they mysteriously appear. If you believe opportunities are scarce, they become invisible to you. This isn't coincidence. It's the law of mental attraction working with mathematical precision. What's really happening behind the scenes is that your internal programming is acting like a filter, determining what you notice and what you ignore in your environment. The opportunities are there. They've always been there. The universe, if you will, is constantly saying yes to your requests. But here's the problem. You're making those requests from a place of fear, doubt, and limitation. Most people are asking for wealth while simultaneously believing they don't deserve it, expecting it to be difficult and focusing on all the reasons why it might not work. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while constantly moving the dial. You get static instead of clear reception. Your financial struggles aren't because you lack opportunities. They're because your mental programming prevents you from recognizing and acting on the ones that are right in front of you. The journey to abundance requires a complete identity shift, and this is where the real work begins. You're not just changing your actions or learning new skills. You're fundamentally rewiring who you believe yourself to be. This transformation happens through daily choices that seem small, but compound into massive changes over time. Every morning when you wake up, you're either reinforcing your old identity or building your new one. The most successful people understand that wealth is an inside job first, an outside manifestation second. They've learned to make decisions from their future self rather than their current circumstances. They've trained themselves to see possibilities where others see problems, to feel abundant even when building their empire, to act with confidence even when the path isn't completely clear. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because understanding the principle is just the beginning. The real magic happens when you learn to apply this specific way of thinking to your daily life, when you discover how to shift your focus from what's wrong to what's possible, and when you start making choices that align with who you're becoming rather than who you've been. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for this transformation," if what I'm sharing resonates with you. The truth behind this transformation runs deeper than most people realize, and it starts with understanding something that might completely shift your perspective on how wealth actually gets created. Every single thing you can see around you right now, your phone, your computer, the chair you're sitting on, the building you're in, every bit of it started as nothing more than a thought in someone's mind. That's the hidden truth most people miss. Thought is the only real creative power we have, and it's the foundation of all tangible wealth. But here's where the journey gets really interesting, and where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. They've been conditioned to treat their thoughts as meaningless mental chatter, as if what goes on inside their head has no impact on their external reality. This is perhaps the most costly misconception in the entire realm of wealth creation, because your thoughts aren't just random electrical impulses. They're the architect of your future. The revelation that changes everything is realizing that your mind is constantly creating your reality, whether you're conscious of it or not. Right now, as you're listening to this, Your thoughts are either building a foundation for abundance or reinforcing patterns of limitation. Most people say they want to be wealthy while simultaneously thinking thoughts of scarcity, feeling emotions of lack, and taking actions driven by fear. This internal contradiction creates a kind of energetic chaos that keeps wealth at arm's length. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you're not aligned internally. You might say, "I want to make more money," while thinking money is hard to come by. You declare, "I'm ready for success," while feeling unworthy of receiving it. You take action toward your goals while secretly expecting them to fail. This creates what I call cognitive dissonance, and it's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. The mind operates on a principle that most people completely misunderstand. It doesn't respond to what you say with your mouth. It responds to what you are in your core being. Your subconscious mind is incredibly sophisticated, but it's also brutally honest. It can sense the difference between genuine conviction and wishful thinking, between authentic belief and desperate hoping. This is why repeating affirmations while feeling doubtful doesn't create lasting change. The real breakthrough happens when you learn to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions as if you were already the prosperous version of yourself. This isn't about pretending or faking it until you make it. It's about accessing the part of you that already knows how to think, feel, and act from abundance. That version of you exists right now. It's just been buried under years of conditioning that taught you to think small and expect less. When you start operating from this aligned state, something remarkable begins to happen. Your decisions change because you're making them from a different identity. Your perception shifts because you're seeing through the lens of possibility rather than limitation. Your energy transforms because you're no longer carrying the heavy burden of doubt and fear. This internal transformation creates what I call a vibrational shift, and it's this shift that makes you magnetic to opportunities, ideas, and resources. The most successful people have mastered this. Alignment, often without even realizing what they're doing. They've learned to embody their success before it manifests externally. They think like wealthy people, feel like wealthy people, and make decisions like wealthy people, even when their bank account is still catching up to their mindset. This isn't delusion, it's strategic identity development. What makes this approach so powerful is that it works from the inside out rather than the outside in. Instead of waiting for external circumstances to change so you can feel successful, you cultivate the internal state of success first, which then attracts the external circumstances to match. This reversal of the typical approach is what separates those who create lasting wealth from those who struggle to make temporary gains. If this content has created genuine value for you, if it's opened your mind to new possibilities about wealth and abundance, a like on this video helps ensure these ideas reach other people who are ready for real transformation. It's a simple way to support content that goes beyond empty promises. The fascinating part is that this process begins to work immediately, even before you see dramatic external changes. Your energy shifts, your confidence grows, your decision-making improves, and you start noticing opportunities that were invisible before. This is the real magic of mental transformation. It doesn't just change what you have, it changes who you are. Write in the comments, "I choose alignment," if you're ready to start thinking, feeling, and acting from your future self. This alignment process starts with something incredibly simple yet profoundly powerful, and it's something you can begin implementing immediately. You're going to create what I call an identity declaration, but this isn't just another positive affirmation that you repeat mindlessly. This is a powerful statement that captures the essence of who you're becoming, written in a way that bypasses your logical mind and speaks directly to your subconscious programming. Here's how this works behind the scenes. When you craft a declaration like, "I am a consciousness of wealth," or "Everything I touch multiplies," You're not just saying words, you're installing new software into your mental operating system. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's happening in your imagination and what's happening in reality. It simply accepts whatever you feed it with emotional intensity and repetition as the new truth about who you are. The key is reading this declaration 3 times daily while doing something most people completely skip, actually feeling and imagining how this version of yourself moves through the world. How does a person with this identity walk into a room? How do they make decisions? What's their energy like when they speak? How do they handle challenges? This isn't fantasy. This is rehearsal for your new reality. But here's where the journey takes an unexpected turn, and where you'll face your first real test. The moment you start embodying this new identity, something predictable yet challenging will happen. Your environment is going to push back, not out of malice, but because change makes people uncomfortable, especially when that change highlights their own stagnation. This environmental resistance is actually one of the most overlooked obstacles in personal transformation, yet it's often the deciding factor between those who succeed and those who return to their old patterns. Your family might not understand why you're suddenly talking differently about money. Your friends might make jokes about your new phase or suggest that you're getting too big for your britches. Co-workers might roll their eyes when you start making decisions from confidence rather than fear. What's really happening is that your growth is triggering something in others. When you start vibrating at a higher frequency, it unconsciously reminds people around you of their own unrealized potential. Your progress becomes a mirror that reflects their own lack of movement, and that reflection can be uncomfortable for them to face. This isn't their fault. It's a natural human response to change. The hidden truth is that most people who attempt transformation give up not because the process doesn't work, but because they're not prepared for this social pressure. They start strong, begin seeing internal shifts, but then the people closest to them begin questioning their new direction. Comments like, "You're being unrealistic," or "Money isn't everything," or "Remember where you came from," start chipping away at their newfound confidence. This is where you discover that transformation isn't just an individual journey, it's also a social navigation challenge. You're not just changing yourself, you're changing your position within your existing relationships and social dynamics. Some people in your life will celebrate your growth, while others will unconsciously try to pull you back to where you were, because that's where they're comfortable with you being. The most successful people understand that this resistance is actually a sign that their transformation is working. It's proof that they're no longer the same person they were before, because if they were, their environment wouldn't be reacting. This pushback becomes a kind of feedback system that confirms they're moving in the right direction, even when it feels uncomfortable or lonely. What makes this phase particularly challenging is that the resistance often comes from people you love and respect. It's not strangers criticizing your growth. It's your inner circle questioning your direction. This can create internal conflict because part of you wants to maintain harmony in your relationships, while another part knows you can't go backward without betraying your own potential. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that you don't have to choose between your relationships and your growth, but you do have to learn how to protect your developing identity from influences that would diminish it. This requires developing a kind of energetic boundary where you can love people without allowing their limitations to become your limitations. Write in the comments, "I protect my growth," if you recognize this pattern and you're ready to navigate it differently. Protecting your growth means recognizing and breaking what I call the invisible pact. This unspoken agreement you've made with your environment to stay exactly who you've always been. This pact operates below the level of conscious awareness, but its influence is enormous. Every time you shrink back to make others comfortable, every time you downplay your ambitions to fit in, Every time you apologize for wanting more, you're honoring this invisible contract that keeps you trapped in your old identity. The devastating truth is that an environment-influenced mind can never act with independent power. When your energy and confidence depend on external approval, when you need others to validate your direction before you can move forward, you've already lost the game before it begins. Your transformation becomes hostage to other people's comfort levels, and most people are only comfortable with you changing up to a certain point, the point where your growth doesn't challenge their own choices. This is where you have to make a decision that many people aren't willing to make. You have to become selfish with your mental and emotional energy, not in a cruel way, but in a strategic way. You have to start treating your mindset like the precious resource it is, carefully guarding what influences you allow in and what you keep out. This requires a level of consciousness that most people never develop because they've been conditioned to be people pleasers rather than life creators. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that you can love people without letting their limitations define your possibilities. You can care about others without making their approval the prerequisite for your progress. This isn't about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about becoming discerning. It's about recognizing that not everyone in your life is equipped to support the person you're becoming, and that's okay. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're going to need to honestly evaluate the 5 people you spend the most time talking to, whether that's in person, on the phone, or through text. This isn't just casual conversation. These are the voices that have the most access to your mental space, the people whose opinions and energy you absorb on a regular basis. The question you need to ask about each person is both simple and profound. Do they elevate me or anchor me? Some people in your life will consistently lift your energy, inspire your thinking, and support your vision even when they don't fully understand it. These are the people who see your potential and remind you of it when you forget. They celebrate your wins genuinely and help you learn from your setbacks without making you feel small. These relationships are gold, and they deserve more of your time and attention. Then there are others who, despite their good intentions, consistently drain your energy or pull you back toward your old patterns. These might be people who always need you to be their therapist, who constantly complain about their own situations without taking action, or who subtly undermine your confidence with comments disguised as concern. They might love you, but they can't sustain your new identity because they need you to stay who you were. The hard truth is that some relationships in your life are investments, while others are expenses. The people who consistently drain your energy, who make you feel smaller after you interact with them, who always steer conversations toward problems rather than possibilities. These relationships are costing you more than you realize. They're not just taking your time, they're programming your subconscious with their worldview. Making conscious decisions about who gets access to your mental and emotional space isn't cruel. It's essential for transformation. This doesn't mean you have to cut people off dramatically or burn bridges, but it does mean you need to limit your exposure to influences that work against your growth. You might spend less time in certain conversations, change the subject when discussions turn negative, or simply invest more energy in relationships that fuel your evolution. The behind-the-scenes reality is that your inner circle is constantly programming your subconscious mind with their beliefs, attitudes, and expectations. If you're surrounded by people who think small, expect little, and settle for mediocrity, that energy becomes your normal. But when you curate your environment to include more people who think big, expect abundance, and refuse to settle, their energy starts becoming your new baseline. This process of environmental curation is one of the most underestimated factors in successful transformation, yet it's often the difference between lasting change and temporary inspiration. Write in the comments, "I choose my influences," if you're ready to become more intentional about who has access to your energy. Becoming intentional about your influences opens the door to something even more powerful, and this is where the real magic of transformation begins to reveal itself. You see, once you've created space for your new identity to develop by curating your environment, you can start working with one of the most underutilized tools for creating wealth, your imagination. But here's where most people get it completely wrong, and why their visualization efforts produce little more than temporary feel-good moments. Your mind operates like a sophisticated projector, constantly broadcasting images onto the screen of your reality. Every thought you repeat with emotional intensity becomes a mental image that starts taking shape in your external world. The problem is that most people treat their imagination like a casual hobby rather than the powerful creative technology it actually is. They visualize their dreams for a few minutes, then spend hours doubting, worrying, and focusing on what's wrong with their current situation. This approach is like trying to develop a photograph while constantly opening a darkroom door. You ruin the process before it can work. The sustained image is everything, because creation happens through consistent mental rehearsal, not sporadic wishful thinking. When you can hold a clear picture of your wealthy self in your mind, with unwavering faith and defined purpose, something remarkable begins to happen behind the scenes. Your subconscious mind starts treating that image as instructions for your new reality. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that your imagination isn't separate from your logical, practical mind. It's actually the blueprint that your logical mind uses to navigate the world. When you consistently visualize yourself living in abundance, making confident financial decisions, and enjoying the fruits of your success, your practical mind begins scanning your environment for ways to make that vision real. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. Ideas that were dormant start awakening. Connections that seemed impossible begin forming naturally. This channel is dedicated to people who understand that real wealth starts from within. And if that resonates with you, consider subscribing so we can continue exploring these deeper principles together. I share content that's designed for serious transformation, not quick fixes, and I'd love for you to be part of this journey with me. But sustaining this mental image requires a level of discipline that most people never develop. It means protecting your vision from the constant noise of doubt, criticism, and contradictory evidence that your current reality might be showing you. This is where the journey becomes a test of your commitment to transformation, because everything around you might be telling you that your vision is unrealistic, while you're training your mind to see it as inevitable. The common error that derails most people is what I call the doubt spiral. They spend 5 minutes visualizing their ideal financial life, feeling excited and optimistic, but then they check their bank account, see their bills, or hear someone complain about the economy, and they spend the next several hours unconsciously visualizing everything that could go wrong. They're essentially practicing failure with much more consistency than they're practicing success. This is why visualization training goes far beyond just imagining good things happening to you. It's about developing the mental strength to maintain your vision even when your current circumstances seem to contradict it. It's about learning to see with your inner eye while your outer eyes are showing you something completely different. This isn't denial or delusion. It's strategic mental conditioning that prepares your mind to recognize and create opportunities that align with your vision. The fascinating part is that this process works whether you believe in it or not, because your subconscious mind is always working with images. Right now, it's either working with images of struggle, limitation, and financial stress, or it's working with images of abundance, opportunity, and financial freedom. There's no neutral position. You're always programming your future through the mental pictures you hold most consistently. When you master the art of sustaining positive mental images despite contrary evidence, you develop what successful people call unwavering faith. This isn't blind faith. It's educated faith based on understanding how your mind creates your reality. You know that what you focus on expands, and you become intentional about focusing on the expansion you want rather than the contraction you fear. The behind-the-scenes truth is that your current financial situation is simply the manifestation of the mental images you've been holding most consistently up until now. If you want a different external reality, you need to become disciplined about maintaining different internal images. This requires treating your imagination like a sacred space that you protect from contamination by doubt, fear, and negative influences. Write in the comments, "I hold my vision," if you're ready to develop this level of mental discipline. Developing this mental discipline starts with a specific practice that might seem simple, but is incredibly powerful when done consistently. This isn't just about daydreaming or casual positive thinking. This is precision mental training that rewires your subconscious programming at the deepest level. You're going to close your eyes and create a crystal-clear mental image of yourself already living in the wealth you desire, but the key is in the details and the consistency. When you enter this visualization space, you're not just imagining having money. You're stepping into the complete experience of being a wealthy person. Where are you in this vision? Are you in your dream home, your ideal office, traveling to places you've always wanted to see? How do you carry yourself? There's a different energy in how confident, financially free people move through the world. What are you wearing? How do people speak to you when you're operating from this level of abundance? These details matter because they help your subconscious mind create a complete identity shift rather than just a wishful fantasy. The transformation happens when you can maintain this detailed image for 3 complete minutes without letting your mind wander to doubts, problems, or contradictory thoughts. 3 minutes might not sound like long, but when you're training your mind to focus with this level of precision, it's more challenging than most people expect. Your mind will try to drift to your current circumstances, to the bills on your desk, to the reasons why this might not work. This resistance is actually proof that you're doing something powerful. You're disrupting old neural pathways and creating new ones. The magic multiplies when you commit to doing this 3 times daily. Once in the morning to set your energetic frequency for the day, once in the afternoon to reinforce the pattern when daily stress might be pulling you back to old thinking, and once before bed so your subconscious can work with these images while you sleep. This consistent repetition is what separates casual dreamers from serious creators of their reality. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because there's a crucial element that most people completely miss, even when they're visualizing consistently. You can have the clearest mental images in the world, but if you're not connecting them to the right emotional frequency, you're essentially trying to start a car without fuel. Emotion is the soul's language, and it's the energy that transforms mental images from wishful thinking into magnetic attraction. Here's the revelation that changes everything. The universe doesn't respond to what you say or even what you visualize. It responds to what you feel. Your emotional state is like a radio frequency that's constantly broadcasting your inner reality, and life has a way of matching whatever signal you're consistently sending out. This is why most people stay stuck, even when they're doing positive affirmations and visualization exercises. They're saying abundance phrases with their mouth while feeling fear, doubt, and scarcity in their heart. The hidden truth is that your emotions are far more honest than your words. You can tell yourself and others that you believe in your vision, but your emotional frequency reveals what you actually believe deep down. If you're visualizing wealth while feeling unworthy of receiving it, or imagining success while feeling afraid it won't last, you're sending mixed signals that create mixed results. Your subconscious mind and the creative forces around you get confused because they're receiving contradictory instructions. This emotional incongruence is why so many people experience temporary improvements, followed by setbacks that bring them back to their starting point. They manage to think positively and take inspired action for a while, but their underlying emotional patterns eventually override their conscious efforts. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. No matter how much water you pour in, it drains right back out. The breakthrough happens when you learn to align your emotional frequency with your vision, not just intellectually, but cellularly. This means actually feeling wealthy while you're visualizing wealth, experiencing genuine gratitude for abundance that hasn't manifested yet, and cultivating the emotional state of someone who knows their success is inevitable. This isn't about forcing fake positivity. It's about accessing the authentic emotions that exist within your future successful self. Write in the comments, "I feel my success," if you're ready to align your emotions with your vision. Aligning your emotions with your vision unlocks what I call the secret of reality's glue. And this is where the transformation process becomes absolutely irresistible to your subconscious mind. You see, when a thought becomes charged with genuine emotion, it stops being just a mental concept and becomes a living force that your subconscious has no choice but to obey. This is the hidden mechanism behind every major breakthrough, every unexpected opportunity, every moment when life seems to magically align in your favor. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that what you feel deeply and consistently becomes your lived experience. This isn't just spiritual philosophy, it's practical psychology. Your emotions are the bridge between your inner world and your outer circumstances. They're the energy that transforms passive imagination into active creation. When you can genuinely feel wealthy, not just think about wealth, you begin vibrating at the frequency of abundance, and that frequency becomes magnetic to the opportunities, people, and resources that match it. This requires you to completely immerse yourself emotionally in your new life, feeling it with such intensity that your nervous system believes you're already living it. This is where most people hit a wall, because they've been conditioned to only feel good when external circumstances give them permission. They wait for the money to arrive before feeling abundant, wait for success to manifest before feeling confident, wait for recognition before feeling worthy. But this approach keeps them trapped in an endless loop of waiting. The breakthrough happens when you reverse this process entirely. Instead of waiting for your reality to change so you can feel different, you change how you feel so your reality has no choice but to follow. This emotional leadership is what separates those who create their circumstances from those who react to them. It's the difference between being a victim of your conditions and being the architect of your experience. Taking your visualization practice and supercharging it with activated emotion is where the real transformation accelerates. You're going to work with your mental image of wealthy, successful you. But this time, you're going to flood it with specific, intense emotions that your subconscious recognizes as truth signals. Deep gratitude for the abundance you're experiencing in your vision. Serene joy that comes from knowing your path is unfolding perfectly. Clean pride in who you've become and what you've accomplished. Total certainty that this reality belongs to you. The key is making this emotional experience as real as possible by engaging all your senses and using tools that amplify the feeling. Music has an incredible power to shift your emotional state instantly. Find tracks that make you feel expansive, successful, and deeply grateful. Your breathing patterns also directly influence your emotional frequency. Deep, slow, purposeful breathing while holding your vision creates a sense of calm confidence that your subconscious interprets as genuine success energy. What's happening behind the scenes is profound emotional reprogramming. This isn't just a feel-good exercise or positive thinking game. This is strategic nervous system training. You're literally teaching your body and mind what it feels like to be the person you're becoming. So when opportunities arise that match this energy, you'll naturally recognize them and have the confidence to act on them. The fascinating part is that your subconscious Mind stores these emotional experiences as real memories, even though they happened in your imagination. So you begin building a catalogue of success experiences that give you genuine confidence, not fake it till you make it confidence. You start making decisions from the emotional foundation of someone who has already succeeded, rather than someone who is desperately hoping to succeed. This emotional activation creates what I call vibrational coherence. Your thoughts, feelings, and energy all aligned in the same direction. When this happens, you stop sending mixed signals to the universe. Instead of the scattered energy of someone who wants success but fears failure, you develop the focused energy of someone who knows their prosperity is inevitable. This coherence is what makes you magnetic to the very things you've been working to attract. The transformation is almost immediate in terms of how you feel, how you carry yourself, and how others respond to you, even before your external circumstances catch up. Write in the comments, "I embody my success now," if you're ready to feel your transformation before you see it. Embodying your success before you see it creates an immediate energetic shift, but here's where the journey takes an unexpected turn that catches most people completely off guard. Just when you start feeling this new confidence, just when your visualization practice becomes powerful, just when you begin making decisions from your future self rather than your current circumstances, something insidious happens. Doubt creeps in, not as the obvious enemy you might expect, but disguised as your friend, your protector, your voice of reason. This is perhaps the most overlooked obstacle in the entire transformation process, because it's not your mistakes or failures that ultimately stop you. It's the doubt that installs precisely when you start doing things right. Most people expect resistance when they're struggling or making errors, but they're completely unprepared for the subtle sabotage that occurs when they're actually making progress. This doubt doesn't announce itself dramatically or scream warnings. Instead, it whispers quietly in the background, masquerading as logic, prudence, and common sense. The hidden truth is that doubt is one of the most sophisticated forms of self-sabotage because it presents itself as wisdom. It sounds like the reasonable voice that says things like, "Maybe you should be more realistic," or "Don't get your hopes up too high," or "This seems too good to be true." These thoughts feel protective rather than limiting, which is why they're so dangerous. You think you're being smart and cautious when you're actually dismantling your own progress. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes when doubt starts whispering. Your subconscious mind, which has been programmed for years or even decades to operate from your old identity, begins to recognize that something new is trying to install itself. This creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the discomfort your mind feels when your new thoughts and behaviors conflict with your established patterns. Your old programming doesn't want to be replaced, so it fights back by generating doubt that feels like truth. A like on this video means more than you might realize. It helps this message reach others who are serious about changing their relationship with money and success. If these principles have resonated with you, that small action supports the mission of spreading genuine transformation rather than superficial motivation. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that doubt isn't a sign that you're moving in the wrong direction. It's actually proof that you're changing. When your mind starts generating resistance to your new way of thinking and being, it means your transformation is working. The doubt is your old identity's last-ditch effort to pull you back to familiar territory, even if that territory has been keeping you stuck. This is where most people make a critical error. They interpret the presence of doubt as evidence that their vision isn't realistic or that their new approach isn't working. They think the doubt is giving them accurate information about their circumstances, when actually it's just their mind trying to return to what it knows. They start second-guessing their visualization practice, questioning their new confidence, and slowly sliding back into their old patterns of thinking and feeling. The key is learning to recognize doubt for what it really is, not wisdom, but resistance to growth. When doubt arises, instead of analyzing whether it's true or not, you need to understand that its very presence indicates that your transformation is threatening your old programming. This is where you must develop what I call unwavering presence, the ability to observe your doubt without being controlled by it. Standing firm in the face of doubt requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to your own thoughts. Instead of assuming that every thought that enters your mind is true or important, you begin to recognize that thoughts are just mental events that come and go. The doubtful thoughts aren't facts about your reality. They're just old programs running in the background, trying to maintain the status quo. This is where the journey becomes a test of your commitment to your new identity. Every time doubt arises and you choose to return to your vision instead of entertaining the doubt, you're strengthening your new neural pathways and weakening the old ones. Every time you feel the doubt, but continue with your visualization practice anyway, you're proving to your subconscious that you're serious about this transformation. The fascinating part is that as you develop this ability to stay present with doubt without being hijacked by it, the doubt actually becomes a valuable signal. It tells you that you're pushing against your comfort zone, that you're creating real change, that your old identity is losing its grip on your thoughts and decisions. Write in the comments, "I recognize doubt as growth," if you're ready to see resistance as confirmation that your transformation is working. Recognizing doubt as growth opens the door to a practical technique that transforms how you relate to these mental interruptions forever. When doubt arises, instead of trying to push it away or pretend it doesn't exist, you're going to do something that most people never think to do. You're going to look at it directly and write it down. This simple act of acknowledgement takes the doubt out of the shadowy realm of unconscious influence and brings it into the light where you can deal with it consciously. Writing down the doubt serves multiple purposes. First, it helps you recognize the patterns in your thinking. You might notice that the same doubtful thoughts appear repeatedly, or that they arise at specific times when you're making progress. Second, the act of writing creates distance between you and the thought. Instead of being consumed by the doubt, you become the observer of it. This shift from being inside the doubt to being outside of it is incredibly powerful because it reminds you that you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that experiences thoughts. Once you've captured the doubt on paper, you respond to it not with logic or argument, but with a powerful emotional affirmation that represents your truth. This isn't about convincing yourself that the doubt is wrong. It's about choosing which voice you're going to empower. When you feel doubt saying, "This won't work for me," you respond with emotional conviction. "I am designed for success, and my breakthrough is inevitable." The key is charging this response with genuine emotion, making it feel more real than the doubt. Then comes the crucial step that seals the transformation. You immediately return to your wealth visualization. Breathe deeply and reactivate the emotional state of your successful self. This isn't just positive thinking, it's strategic mental conditioning. You're teaching your nervous system that doubt is temporary, but your vision is permanent. You're proving to your subconscious that regardless of what mental static arises, you always return to your truth. The fascinating discovery is that doubt cannot survive when certainty is lived with intensity. When you flood your system with the emotional reality of your success, when you breathe deeply into the feeling of already being prosperous, when you immerse yourself fully in the vision of your abundant life, doubt simply dissolves. It's not that you've argued it away, you've overwhelmed it with a more powerful frequency. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of mental mastery, because there's another layer that determines whether your transformation becomes permanent or temporary. Beyond visualization and emotional activation, beyond recognizing and redirecting doubt, there's a daily practice that either accelerates your progress or sabotages it completely, often without you even realizing it's happening. This practice is so fundamental yet so overlooked that it might be the missing piece that explains why some people transform their lives while others stay stuck despite their best efforts. What you say out loud every day, whether in casual conversation or in moments of frustration, your mind receives as direct programming instructions. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what you say seriously and what you say jokingly, between what you say in anger and what you say in hope. Every word that comes out of your mouth is processed as a declaration of truth about your identity and your expectations. This means that your daily language is either building your new wealthy identity or reinforcing your old limited one. The universe, or the creative forces that respond to your energy, receives your words as orders about what kind of experiences to send your way. When you say, "I can never get ahead," or "money is so hard to come by," or "I'm not good with finances," you're not just expressing frustration, you're placing an order for more experiences that confirm these statements. Your words become self-fulfilling prophecies because they shape your expectations, and your expectations influence what you notice and how you respond to opportunities. This revelation transforms how you understand the power of language. Your words aren't just communication tools, they're reality creation instruments that are constantly programming your future experiences. Write in the comments, "My words create my wealth," if you're ready to become conscious of the power your language has over your financial reality. Becoming conscious of how your words create your wealth reveals one of the most profound yet overlooked principles of transformation. Words carry creative power that operates independently of your current circumstances, which means that someone who speaks constantly of poverty and limitation will find ways to lose money even if they have it, while someone who consistently speaks from abundance will attract wealth even from challenging circumstances. This isn't mystical thinking, it's practical psychology applied to financial reality. The devastating truth is that most people unknowingly sabotage their financial growth through their daily language patterns. They say things like, "I don't have enough money. It's so hard to make money these days. I'm always broke. I can never get ahead," or "I'm just not lucky with money." These phrases might feel like honest expressions of frustration, but what's actually happening is that their subconscious mind is recording these statements as fundamental truths about their identity and capabilities. Your subconscious doesn't analyze whether these statements are temporary complaints or permanent beliefs. It simply accepts them as programming instructions. When you repeatedly tell yourself and others that money is hard to come by, your mind begins filtering your experience to confirm this belief. You start noticing more evidence of financial difficulty and fewer examples of people prospering. You become unconsciously attracted to conversations about economic problems and unconsciously repelled by discussions about opportunity and abundance. The hidden mechanism behind this is that your language shapes your focus, and your focus determines your experience. When your habitual language revolves around financial struggle, your attention becomes trained to spot problems, obstacles, and reasons why wealth building is difficult. Conversely, when your language consistently reflects abundance thinking, your mind becomes skilled at recognizing opportunities, solutions, and evidence that prosperity is not only possible, but natural. This is where a specific practice becomes absolutely crucial for rewiring your relationship with money. You need to conduct what I call a verbal audit, becoming consciously aware of everything you say about money, work, opportunities, and your own abilities for an entire day. This isn't about judging yourself harshly for negative language. It's about developing awareness of unconscious patterns that have been running your financial programming without your permission. The revelation that emerges from this exercise is often shocking. Most people discover that they speak about money in limiting ways dozens of times throughout a single day, often without even realizing it. They might joke about being broke, complain about expenses, express pessimism about the economy, or downplay their own abilities and potential. Each of these seemingly innocent comments is actually a micro-affirmation that reinforces scarcity consciousness. The transformation happens when you develop the habit of immediately catching and replacing limiting language with empowering alternatives. Instead of saying, "I can't afford that," you train yourself to say, "I'm choosing to invest my money differently right now." Rather than, "Money doesn't come easily to me," you say, "I'm learning to attract money more effortlessly." Instead of, "I'm not good with finances," you declare, "I'm developing excellent financial skills." This isn't about denying reality or pretending problems don't exist. It's about speaking from possibility rather than limitation, from your growing edge rather than your stuck. In places, when you consistently use language that reflects abundance thinking, something fascinating happens behind the scenes. Your nervous system begins to relax around money topics, your confidence in financial matters naturally increases, and your ability to see and act on opportunities expands dramatically. The practice requires vigilance at first because you're interrupting years or decades of unconscious programming. But the results are often immediate in terms of how you feel about your financial situation. Even before your bank account changes, your relationship with money begins to transform. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like a creator of possibilities. The most successful people have mastered this principle, often without consciously realizing it. They speak about money, opportunities, and their own capabilities in ways that assume abundance rather than scarcity. Their language reflects expectation of success rather than fear of failure. And this consistent verbal practice becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that shapes their reality. Write in the comments, "I speak abundance into existence," if you're ready to transform your financial reality through conscious language. Speaking abundance into existence through conscious language creates a foundation, but here's where the transformation process requires something that most people are unwilling to commit to, yet it's absolutely essential for permanent change. You see, nothing truly powerful in this world is built once. Every great achievement, every lasting transformation, every person who has created genuine wealth understands that success is the fruit of repeating the correct actions and thoughts until they become inevitable. This is where most people fail, not because they don't know what to do, but because they underestimate the power of consistent repetition. Your mind doesn't change simply by knowing new information or having occasional insights. It changes through the relentless repetition of new patterns until they overwrite the old programming that has been running your life for years or decades. The subconscious mind is like a recording device that responds only to thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that are repeated with consistency and emotional intensity. A single powerful experience might inspire you temporarily, but it's the daily repetition of empowering thoughts that creates permanent neural rewiring. This is why people can attend life-changing seminars, read transformational books, or have profound realizations, yet still find themselves slipping back into old patterns within weeks or months. The insight was real, the inspiration was genuine, but they didn't commit to the repetition required to make the new pattern stronger than the old one. They treated transformation like a one-time event rather than a daily practice, and their old programming eventually reasserted itself. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that repetition is not just helpful for transformation, it's the only mechanism through which lasting change occurs. Every thought you think repeatedly becomes a neural pathway. Every emotion you experience consistently becomes a default state. Every behavior you repeat regularly becomes an automatic habit. This is happening whether you're conscious of it or not. So the question isn't whether you're programming your mind through repetition, but whether you're programming it intentionally or accidentally. Most people have been accidentally programming themselves for limitation through the repetition of worry, doubt, and scarcity thinking. They've repeated phrases like, "I can't afford it," or "money is tight," so many times that these thoughts have become automatic responses to financial situations. They've visualized worst-case scenarios and felt the emotions of financial stress so consistently that their nervous system now associates money with anxiety rather than opportunity. The breakthrough comes when you harness this same mechanism of repetition deliberately, using it to install the mental programming of prosperity rather than poverty. This requires choosing one key affirmation that resonates deeply with your vision of financial abundance and committing to a specific practice that might seem almost ridiculously simple, yet is incredibly powerful when executed with discipline. You're going to write this affirmation by hand 33 times every day for 30 consecutive days, and if you miss even one day, you start the count over from day one. This isn't just busy work or positive thinking repetition. This is strategic neural pathway installation. Writing by hand engages different parts of your brain than typing or speaking, creating stronger neural connections. The number 33 has significance in terms of neural programming, and the 30-day commitment ensures that you're giving the new pattern enough time to take root in your subconscious before old programming can sabotage it. The requirement to start over if you miss a day isn't punishment, it's protection. It ensures that you develop the discipline and commitment required to sustain wealth once you create it. People who can't commit to 30 consecutive days of writing an affirmation probably can't commit to the consistent behaviors required to build and maintain financial abundance. The exercise is as much about developing your character as it is about programming your mind. What happens during this process is profound. In the first week, it might feel mechanical or even silly. By the second week, you start feeling the emotional reality of the words more deeply. By the third week, the affirmation begins influencing your decisions and perceptions throughout the day. By the fourth week, it has become part of your identity, and you start naturally thinking, feeling, and acting in ways that align with the statement you've been reinforcing. Write in the comments, "I commit to repetition," if you're ready to do whatever it takes to reprogram your mind for wealth. Committing to repetition creates powerful internal change. But here's a sobering truth that most people discover only after weeks or months of diligent inner work. You're not as mentally strong as you think you are. Even with powerful affirmations, clear visualizations, and consistent emotional practices, if your external environment is constantly sabotaging your mind, your growth will slow to a crawl or stop entirely. This is one of the most overlooked factors in transformation because people focus intensely on their internal practices while remaining completely unconscious of how their environment is silently programming their perception of what's possible. Your environment doesn't just influence you occasionally, it's programming you constantly, often below the level of conscious awareness. Every conversation you have, every piece of content you consume, every space you spend time in is either reinforcing your new wealthy identity or pulling you back toward your old limited one. This environmental programming is so subtle and persistent that it can override even the most dedicated internal work if you're not strategic about curating what you allow into your mental and emotional space. Think about this. You might spend 30 minutes in the morning doing powerful visualization and affirmation work, feeling abundant and confident about your financial future. But then you spend the next 8 hours in conversations with colleagues who complain about money, listening to news that emphasizes economic problems, scrolling through social media content that triggers comparison and inadequacy, or working in spaces that feel chaotic and draining. By the end of the day, your carefully cultivated abundance mindset has been eroded by 1,000 small environmental influences. The hidden truth is that your subconscious mind is constantly absorbing information from your environment and using it to confirm or challenge your new beliefs about wealth and success. If your environment consistently exposes you to messages of scarcity, struggle, and limitation, your subconscious begins to question whether your abundance visualizations are realistic. It starts generating doubt not because your vision is wrong, but because the environmental evidence seems to contradict your internal work. This is where environmental depuration becomes absolutely crucial for sustaining your transformation. You need to conduct a thorough audit of your immediate environment, examining every influence that has regular access to your mental space. Who are you talking to on a daily basis, and do these conversations elevate your thinking or drag it down toward complaint and limitation? What are you listening to while you work? Music that inspires and energizes you, or background noise that creates mental clutter? What kind of content are you seeing on social media? Posts that inspire growth and possibility, or content that triggers comparison, inadequacy, or negativity? The transformation requires making some decisions that might feel uncomfortable at first, because you'll need to eliminate influences that lower your energy and cloud your vision. This isn't about becoming antisocial or cutting people off harshly. It's about recognizing that your mental environment is as important as your physical health. And just as you wouldn't knowingly consume poison, you can't afford to consistently consume mental and emotional toxicity. Some of these changes might be as simple as unfollowing social media accounts that make you feel inadequate, choosing different music for your workday, or politely changing the subject when conversations turn toward chronic complaining. Other changes might be more significant, like spending less time with people who consistently drain your energy, or choosing to work in spaces that feel more inspiring and abundant. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that protecting your mental environment isn't selfishness. It's essential self-care that allows you to sustain the transformation you're working so hard to create. When you surround yourself with influences that support your new identity, your internal practices become more powerful because they're being reinforced rather than undermined by your external world. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of environmental design because there's a specific aspect of your daily environment that has enormous influence over your financial mindset, yet most people never consciously address it. Write in the comments, "I design my environment for success," if you're ready to take control of the influences that shape your daily experience. Designing your environment for success creates the perfect foundation for transformation. But here's where many people get trapped in what I call the preparation loop. They become so focused on perfecting their internal practices and external environment that they forget the crucial bridge between possibility and reality. You can have the most powerful visualizations, the most supportive environment, and the clearest mental programming, but if you're not taking action, you're essentially asking the universe to deliver your dreams to your couch while you wait passively for them to appear. This is where the journey takes a decisive turn from internal work to external expression. Thoughts. Create possibilities by opening your mind to what could be, but only actions create reality by giving the universe tangible ways to deliver what you've been requesting. The bridge between your vision and your bank account is built through inspired action, not through more thinking, more planning, or more preparation. You declare your intentions with your mind, but you receive your results through your willingness to move. The hidden truth that separates dreamers from achievers is understanding that the universe operates through natural laws that require your participation. When you visualize abundance and feel grateful for wealth that hasn't arrived yet, you're not just engaging in mental exercises. You're actually sending out energetic signals that begin attracting opportunities, ideas, and resources toward you. But these opportunities can only reach you if you're actively engaged with the world, making decisions, taking steps, and staying open to unexpected pathways. Most people sabotage this process by waiting for perfect clarity before they act. They want to see the entire staircase before they take the first step, but inspiration doesn't work that way. Inspired action comes through intuitive nudges, sudden ideas, or simple knowing that something needs to be done, even when you can't see how it connects to your larger vision. The clarity comes through the movement, not before it. This is where a specific practice becomes essential for accelerating your transformation. You need to create regular opportunities to connect with your inner guidance and ask for the next right action. Not the perfect action or the action that guarantees success, but simply the next step that moves you closer to your vision. This practice begins with making silence for 5 minutes, allowing your mind to settle beyond the constant chatter of planning and worrying. In this quiet space, you breathe deeply and genuinely connect with the part of yourself that knows what needs to happen. Next, then you ask a simple but powerful question. What step can I take today that brings me closer to the life I'm creating? The key is asking this question without attachment to the answer being dramatic or life-changing. Sometimes inspired action looks like making a phone call, updating your resume, researching an opportunity, or simply organizing your workspace to support more productive thinking. The transformation happens when you commit to listening to the first idea that comes, regardless of whether it makes logical sense or seems significant enough. Your rational mind will often try to dismiss inspired action as too small, too simple, or too unrelated to your larger goals. But inspired action works through accumulation. Small steps taken consistently create momentum that builds into major breakthroughs over time. The commitment that changes everything is doing whatever action comes up today, before you go to sleep, without negotiating with yourself about whether it's the right thing to do. This practice trains you to trust your inner guidance and proves to the universe that you're serious about co-creating your vision rather than just fantasizing about it. Each time you follow through on inspired action, you strengthen your connection to the intelligence that's constantly trying to guide you toward your highest good. What's fascinating is that inspired action often leads to unexpected opportunities that your logical mind never could have planned. The phone call you didn't want to make connects you with someone who knows about a perfect opportunity. The project you organize today prepares you for a chance conversation that opens doors you didn't know existed. The small investment you make leads to relationships that transform your financial trajectory. This is how the universe operates, through synchronicity and serendipity that can only occur when you're actively engaged with life rather than waiting for guarantees. Write in the comments, I take inspired action today, if you're ready to bridge the gap between your vision and your reality through movement. Taking inspired action today creates momentum and demonstrates your commitment to transformation. But here's where the journey requires perhaps the most challenging skill of all, something that separates those who achieve lasting success from those who give up just before their breakthrough. This skill is what I call vibrational patience, and it's the ability to maintain your high-energy, abundant mindset, even when external circumstances haven't caught up to your internal transformation yet. Success rarely arrives precisely when you ask for it, or even when you feel you deserve it. Instead, it arrives when you've finally stopped doubting that it belongs to you, when you've developed such unshakable faith in your vision that your energy no longer fluctuates based on immediate evidence. This timing isn't random or cruel. It's actually the universe's way of ensuring that when your breakthrough comes, you'll be emotionally and mentally prepared to sustain it rather than sabotage it through old patterns of self-doubt. The devastating truth is that most people fail not because they lack potential or because their dreams are unrealistic, but because they abandon their transformation just before the miracle occurs. They do all the internal work, take inspired actions, make environmental changes, and start seeing small shifts, but then hit what feels like a plateau. When dramatic results don't appear as quickly as they hoped, they begin to doubt the process, lose faith in their vision, and slowly drift back toward their old ways of thinking and being. This is where true power reveals itself, in your ability to maintain a high vibrational frequency while everything around you seems unchanged. When you can continue feeling abundant despite your current bank balance. When you can keep visualizing success despite temporary setbacks. When you can persist with inspired action even when progress feels slow, you're developing the character and energy that wealth requires. You're proving to the universe and to yourself that you're ready for a level of success that you can handle responsibly. The hidden truth about this plateau phase is that it's often when the most important work is happening just beneath the surface where you can't see it yet. Your consistent inner practices are rewiring neural pathways that took years to establish. Your inspired actions are creating connections and opportunities that haven't revealed their significance yet. Your environmental changes are slowly shifting the quality of ideas and possibilities that come into your awareness. This invisible transformation is preparing the foundation for visible breakthroughs. Vibrational patience isn't passive waiting or resigned acceptance. It's active faith combined with continued inner work. It's the recognition that while you're maintaining your vision and taking inspired action, the universe is orchestrating circumstances, timing, and connections in ways that your logical mind couldn't possibly coordinate. This patience comes from understanding that there's an intelligence at work that's far more sophisticated than your individual planning could ever be. There's a specific practice that helps develop this patience while keeping your energy aligned with your vision. You're going to connect with a past goal that you achieved, something you once desired intensely that's now simply part of your normal life. Maybe it was getting a particular job, finding your current home, or achieving a relationship milestone. Remember how much you wanted it, how impossible it sometimes seemed, and how you eventually stopped obsessing about when it would happen because you knew it would. This remembering process helps you access the feeling of inevitable success rather than desperate hoping. It reminds your nervous system that you've successfully manifested important things before, even when the timing wasn't what you expected. This emotional memory becomes a resource you can draw upon when doubt arises about your current vision. The transformation deepens when you create a daily affirmation that reinforces this patient confidence. Writing and reading the statement, "Everything I desire is already on its way. While I wait, I become the being who can sustain it," programs your mind to see this waiting period not as delay, but as preparation. You're not just killing time until your success arrives. You're actively becoming the person who can handle, maintain, and multiply whatever abundance comes your way. This perspective shift is crucial because premature success often leads to self-sabotage when someone receives opportunities before they've developed the character to sustain them. Write in the comments, "I trust perfect timing," if you're ready to maintain your vision regardless of how long transformation takes. Trusting perfect timing opens the door to one of the most counterintuitive yet powerful principles in the entire wealth creation process. And this is where many people struggle because it challenges everything they've been taught about going after what they want. The principle is this: when you desire something with desperation, with needy energy, with attachment to specific outcomes, you actually push it away from you. But when you desire with certainty, with calm confidence, with trust in the process, you create space for it to flow toward you naturally. This isn't some mystical concept. It's practical psychology applied to manifestation. When you're desperate for money, for opportunities, for success, that desperation vibrates at the frequency of lack. You're essentially broadcasting to the universe that you don't have what you want, and the universe, which responds to your energetic signals rather than your verbal requests, delivers more experiences that match that lack frequency. Desperation. creates resistance because it's rooted in fear, and fear contracts your ability to see opportunities and take confident action. Conversely, when you desire from a place of certainty, when you want something while simultaneously knowing that you're worthy of receiving it and trusting that it will come in perfect timing, you create what I call intelligent detachment. This isn't giving up on your dreams or becoming passive about your goals. It's developing the emotional maturity to hold your vision strongly while being at peace with how and when it manifests. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that being at peace with whether something comes or not is actually what makes everything start arriving. This seems backwards to most people because they think they need to hold on tightly to their desires, but the opposite is true. When you can genuinely release attachment to specific outcomes while maintaining clear intention, you remove the energetic resistance that was blocking the flow of abundance toward you. Needing something is essentially declaring vibrationally that you don't have it. And since the universe responds to what you vibrate rather than what you think you want, it keeps you in experiences that confirm that lack. But when you shift from needing to trusting, from grasping to allowing, from demanding to requesting, you align with the natural flow of abundance that's always trying to reach you. The practice that develops this intelligent detachment starts with connecting deeply to what you most desire to attract in your life. You visualize it clearly, feel the emotion of already having it, immerse yourself in the gratitude and joy that this manifestation would bring. But then comes the crucial step that most people skip. You consciously release attachment to how it happens and when it arrives. You imagine that your request has already been received by the universe and is now being processed and prepared for delivery. The transformation happens when you breathe deeply and make a declaration that embodies complete trust. I trust completely. It's already done. I receive it when it's the perfect moment. This isn't resignation or giving up. It's sophisticated faith that recognizes there's an intelligence at work that can coordinate circumstances far better than your individual effort could accomplish. You're essentially saying to the universe, I've done my part by getting clear on what I want and why I want it. Now I trust you to handle the how and when. This detachment practice is particularly powerful because it addresses one of the biggest obstacles to manifestation, the anxiety and impatience that comes from trying to control outcomes. When you're constantly checking for results, worrying about timing, or trying to force things to happen according to your timeline, you're operating from a controlling energy that actually slows down the process. But when you can hold your vision while simultaneously releasing control of the details, you become magnetic to synchronicities and opportunities. The hidden truth is that this detachment isn't just helpful for manifestation, it's essential for enjoying the journey of transformation. When you're desperately attached to specific outcomes, every delay feels like failure, every unexpected turn feels like a problem, and every moment that doesn't look like success feels like evidence that you're doing something wrong. But when you develop intelligent detachment, you can appreciate the process itself, learning and growing from every experience while maintaining trust that everything is unfolding perfectly. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of detachment because there's another layer that determines whether your transformation becomes sustainable or temporary. Write in the comments, I release and receive, if you're ready to let go of control while maintaining your vision. Releasing and receiving through intelligent detachment creates the perfect energetic conditions for manifestation. But here's where we encounter perhaps the deepest layer of transformation work, and it's the one that determines whether all your other efforts create lasting change or temporary improvements. You see, there's a fundamental principle that most people never fully grasp. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Your financial results aren't a reflection of your desires, your goals, or even your actions. They're a mirror of your identity, your deepest beliefs about who you are and what you deserve. This is why someone can have perfect affirmations, crystal clear visualizations, and even take inspired action consistently, yet still struggle to create lasting abundance. Somewhere beneath their conscious efforts, their core identity is still programmed with beliefs that contradict their stated desires. They might be saying, "I am wealthy," while their deeper programming whispers, "I'm not the kind of person who has money," or "I don't really deserve financial success," or "rich people are different from me." The subconscious mind is like a sophisticated security system that's designed to keep your external reality consistent with your internal identity. If you achieve something that goes beyond what your identity believes is possible or appropriate for you, that same mind will find ways to sabotage the success or create circumstances that bring you back to your familiar level. This isn't conscious self-sabotage. It's automatic identity protection that operates below your awareness. The hidden truth is that your current financial situation is an exact reflection of your current identity programming, not your potential or your desires. If you're struggling financially, it's not because you lack ability or because the universe is against you. It's because some part of your identity is programmed to expect and accept financial limitation. This programming might have come from childhood messages about money, family patterns around scarcity, or cultural beliefs about what kind of people deserve wealth. The breakthrough happens when you realize that identity isn't fixed. It's actually a collection of beliefs and self-perceptions that can be consciously redesigned. Just as you learn to see yourself in your current way through repetition and conditioning, you can learn to see yourself differently through intentional reprogramming. This isn't about positive thinking or surface-level affirmations. It's about going to the core level where your sense of self is constructed and making fundamental changes. The identity redesign process begins with brutal honesty about how you currently perceive yourself in relation to money and success. You need to write down 3 phrases that capture your deepest beliefs about yourself financially. Not what you wish you believed or what you think you should believe, but what you actually believe when no one is listening. These might be thoughts like, "I'm not good with money," or "I always struggle financially," or "Success is for other people, not me." The symbolic act of destroying these old identity statements, literally tearing up the paper, burning it safely, or throwing it away, sends a powerful message to your subconscious that you're done with this version of yourself. You're officially terminating your contract with limitation and creating space for a new identity to emerge. This physical destruction is important because your subconscious responds to symbols and rituals more than to logical arguments. Then comes the creative part, writing your new identity in present tense as if it's already true. Statements like, "I am a natural magnet of wealth," or "My mind is programmed for success," or "Money comes easily to me because I am valuable," aren't just affirmations. They're identity declarations that you'll reinforce through daily repetition until they become more real to you than your old programming. The key is choosing identity statements that feel like a stretch but not a complete fantasy. Your new identity should be aspirational but believable enough that your mind doesn't immediately reject it. As you repeat these new identity statements with emotion and conviction, something profound begins to shift. Your decisions start aligning with this new version of yourself. Your behavior begins reflecting someone who naturally attracts wealth. Your expectations adjust to match what this new identity would consider normal. Write in the comments, "I am redesigning my identity," if you're ready to become the person who naturally lives in abundance. Redesigning your identity creates a foundation for lasting transformation. But there's a crucial element that determines how quickly and completely your new identity manifests in your external reality. You see, what you don't see clearly with your mind's eyes, your physical reality can never deliver to you. This isn't mystical thinking. It's practical neuroscience. Your brain needs detailed mental blueprints to recognize opportunities and coordinate actions that align with your goals. And most people provide their minds with such vague, emotionally flat visualizations that their subconscious has no clear instructions to follow. The difference between people who successfully transform their financial reality and those who remain stuck isn't just in their thinking or their action-taking, it's in the precision and emotional intensity of their mental rehearsal. Most people visualize in a casual, unfocused way, perhaps seeing themselves with more money or imagining success in general terms, but without the specific details and sensory richness that make the experience feel real to their nervous system. This is where directed visualization becomes absolutely crucial for accelerating your transformation. You're not just daydreaming about a better future or engaging in wishful thinking. You're strategically training your mind to see, feel, and experience your desired reality with such clarity and intensity that your subconscious begins treating it as memory rather than imagination. This neurological shift is what creates the bridge between internal vision and external manifestation. The hidden truth is that your mind doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and actual memories when it comes to shaping your expectations and behaviors. Professional athletes have used this principle for decades, mentally rehearsing perfect performances with such detail that their bodies improve even without physical practice. You can apply this same technology to wealth creation by becoming the person who already possesses abundance in your mental experience before it appears in your bank account. This requires a level of visualization sophistication that goes far beyond seeing pictures in your mind. You need to create what I call full-spectrum mental experiences that engage all your senses and emotions simultaneously. When you can taste, touch, hear, smell, and feel your abundant life with complete sensory detail, your subconscious mind begins reorganizing your thoughts, decisions, and behaviors to match this reality. The practice begins with creating optimal conditions for deep mental focus. You need to find a space where you can be completely undisturbed, close your eyes, and breathe deeply 3 times to settle your nervous system. This isn't just relaxation. You're preparing your mind to enter the state where imagination becomes programming. Each deep breath helps you disconnect from your current circumstances and connect with your creative power. The transformation happens when you visualize yourself not as someone hoping to receive abundance, but as someone who already possesses it completely. You're not imagining money coming to you from outside. You're experiencing yourself as someone for whom wealth is natural and normal. You see yourself making financial decisions with confidence, handling large sums of money with ease, and enjoying the peace that comes from complete financial security. The key is activating all 5 senses to make this experience as real as possible. What does financial freedom smell like? Perhaps the leather interior of your dream car or the ocean breeze from your ideal vacation destination. What does it feel like physically? The smooth fabric of quality clothes, the warmth of relaxation when bills aren't a concern, the solid handshake of important business connections? What sounds accompany your abundant life? Perhaps the quiet hum of your home office, applause from an audience, or conversations about opportunities rather than problems. This sensory richness creates what neuroscientists call embodied cognition, where your entire nervous system begins to believe and expect the reality you're visualizing. Your posture changes, your energy shifts, your decision-making improves, and your ability to recognize relevant opportunities expands dramatically. You literally start moving through the world as someone who belongs in abundance rather than someone who's trying to escape scarcity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of mental mastery because there's a specific emotional frequency that must accompany your visualization practice to make it truly transformative. Write in the comments, I see my success with complete clarity if you're ready to train your mind with the precision of a professional athlete. Seeing your success with complete clarity through directed visualization creates powerful mental blueprints, but there's an emotional frequency that must accompany this practice to transform it from mere imagination into magnetic attraction. This frequency is one of the most misunderstood yet powerful forces in the entire manifestation process, and most people have it completely backwards. I'm talking about gratitude, but not the kind of gratitude you've been taught to practice. Most people live their entire lives waiting for something good to happen so they can feel grateful, but this approach keeps them trapped in a cycle of scarcity because they're essentially telling the universe that gratitude is conditional on external circumstances. They think gratitude is the result of receiving blessings, but the hidden truth is exactly the opposite. Gratitude is the cause that allows receiving to occur. In the mental and energetic universe where your thoughts and emotions create your reality, you first give thanks, then you see it manifested. This concept challenges everything most people believe about how life works, because it requires you to feel genuinely grateful for things that haven't appeared yet, to experience authentic appreciation for circumstances that exist only in your vision. But this isn't delusional thinking. It's advanced emotional technology that signals to your subconscious mind and the creative forces around you that you're operating from abundance rather than lack. When you feel grateful for something you don't yet have, you're essentially embodying the emotional state of someone who already possesses it. Your nervous system begins to vibrate at the frequency of fulfillment rather than wanting, and this vibrational shift is what makes you magnetic to the very things you're grateful for. You stop broadcasting the energy of need and start emanating the energy of having, which completely changes how opportunities, resources, and people respond to you. The practice that accelerates this transformation involves creating what I call an advanced gratitude inventory. You're going to write down 10 specific things you don't currently have, but deeply desire, and next to each one, you'll write thank you as if you've already received it completely. This isn't just a mental exercise. You're literally programming your emotional frequency to match your vision rather than your current circumstances. The key is reading this list every morning and evening with genuine emotion, not as a mechanical ritual, but as an authentic expression of appreciation for what you know is already yours in the realm of possibility. When you thank the universe for your financial freedom before it's visible in your bank account, for your dream opportunity before it's presented to you, for your ideal lifestyle before you're living it, you're training your emotional system to expect good things rather than brace for problems. This advanced gratitude practice works because it addresses one of the biggest obstacles to manifestation, the gap between desire and expectation. Most people desire abundance, but expect struggle, want success, but expect setbacks, dream of wealth, but expect limitation. This internal contradiction creates energetic static that confuses the creative process. But when you can genuinely feel grateful for your desired reality before it manifests, you bridge that gap and create coherent signal that the universe can respond to clearly. What happens behind the scenes is profound neurological reprogramming. Your brain begins to search for evidence that supports your grateful expectations rather than your fearful ones. Your reticular activating system, the mental filter that determines what you notice in your environment, starts highlighting opportunities and possibilities that align with what you're already thanking for. Your decision-making improves because you're operating from the assumption that good things are coming rather than the fear that they might not. The transformation is often immediate in terms of how you feel throughout the day. Instead of starting each morning focused on what's wrong or what's missing, you begin with appreciation for what's already in motion. Instead of going to bed worried about the future, you rest in gratitude for the abundance that's organizing itself behind the scenes. This emotional shift alone changes your energy in ways that make you more attractive to positive people, opportunities, and circumstances. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic of emotional mastery because there's one final element that determines whether all these practices create lasting transformation or temporary improvement. Write in the comments, "I give thanks in advance," if you're ready to feel grateful for your abundance before you see it. Giving thanks in advance for your abundance creates the emotional foundation for lasting transformation. But now we arrive at the most crucial phase of this entire journey, the integration period, where everything you've learned either becomes permanent programming or slowly fades back into old patterns. This is where the distinction becomes clear between those who experience temporary inspiration and those who achieve lasting transformation. The daily integration practices that follow your initial breakthrough are what determine whether this 30-day process becomes a life-changing event or just another self-improvement experiment you tried. These practices aren't glamorous or exciting. They're the quiet, consistent actions that slowly but surely rewire your relationship with money at the deepest level. You'll need to heal any unconscious resentment or fear you have toward wealth, transforming money from an enemy or source of stress into an ally and tool for positive impact. Your physical environment becomes a daily practice ground where you consciously create spaces that support abundance thinking rather than scarcity mindset. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to speak as someone who naturally expects prosperity rather than someone who habitually complains about financial limitation. The small decisions you make throughout each day, what you choose to focus on, how you respond to setbacks, whether you invest in your growth or spend impulsively, these seemingly insignificant choices compound into the foundation of your financial future. Perhaps most importantly, you'll need to become ruthlessly selective about the voices you allow into your mental space, surrounding yourself with people, content, and conversations that elevate your vision rather than diminish it. This isn't about becoming antisocial or judgmental. It's about recognizing that your developing abundance consciousness needs protection from influences that would pull you back toward old patterns of thinking and feeling. The integration period requires sustaining your clear vision even when progress feels slow, installing unshakable faith that operates independently of immediate evidence, and developing prosperity habits that become as automatic as brushing your teeth. You'll need to continue taking inspired action even when the connection between your daily steps and your larger vision isn't obvious. And perhaps most challenging of all, you'll need to maintain the practice of believing before seeing rather than requiring proof before you commit. But there comes a moment in this journey where something profound shifts, where you move from practicing abundance consciousness to embodying it completely. This moment isn't marked by external circumstances. It happens internally when you make what I call the final commitment. The irreversible decision to never return to your old way of being, regardless of what challenges or setbacks might arise. When you make this decision authentically, something remarkable happens behind the scenes. It's as if the universe recognizes your commitment and begins burning the bridges that would allow you to retreat back to scarcity thinking. Opportunities that would have allowed you to play small start disappearing. People who enabled your old patterns begin moving out of your life. Circumstances conspire to make returning to limitation more difficult than moving forward into abundance. This isn't the last day of a program. It's a rebirth, a sacred closure of one chapter of your life and the conscious opening of another. Success in any area of life is often decided at the precise point where most people abandon their efforts. And if you've reached this place of final commitment, you've already crossed the line that separates those who occasionally try to change from those who actually transform. The declaration you make at this moment isn't just words. It's an identity-level decision that reverberates through every aspect of your being. When you can say with complete conviction, "I will never return to scarcity. I am embodied wealth. You're not just making a statement about money, you're declaring a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your place in the world. Being irreversibly committed to your abundant identity marks the completion of a journey that most people never even begin, let alone finish. If you've stayed with me through this entire transformation process, you've already demonstrated something remarkable about your character and your readiness for genuine change. The fact that you're still here, still absorbing these principles, still willing to do the internal work that real wealth creation requires, tells me that you're part of that rare group of people who actually follow through on their commitments to themselves. This conversation we've been having isn't just about money or success. It's been about recognizing and activating the power you've always had, but perhaps never fully accessed. The principles we've explored together work because they address the real source of abundance, which isn't external circumstances, but internal transformation. And if these insights have resonated with you, if they've helped you see possibilities you hadn't considered before, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel so we can continue this journey together. The content I share here is specifically designed for people who are serious about transformation, who want more than surface-level motivation or quick-fix solutions. It's for those who understand that real change requires real commitment. And if that describes you, then having you as part of this community would mean everything to me. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, leave a comment saying, "This message was meant for me," so I know you were truly present for this entire experience. There's something powerful about acknowledging that completion, about marking the moment when you decided to fully engage with your potential rather than just casually consuming information. And if this content has created value for you, if it's shifted something in how you think about wealth and possibility, a like on this video helps ensure that these ideas reach other people who are ready for them. It's a small action that supports the mission of spreading genuine transformation rather than empty promises. There's a video right here that takes everything we've covered today even deeper, exploring the specific daily practices that turn these principles into permanent results. Click and continue with me over there, because the conversation doesn't end here, it's just getting started.